Welcome to Grow My Officiant Business, the podcast, and now the YouTube channel. I've been working on that, so I hope you'll go and check out some of the YouTube videos I've put up. Today is a cool episode. I always love it when I get to talk to someone and interview someone, especially someone that I deem as an expert, someone who's in this field. They know it like the back of their hand. And today I have on Keith Carson. Keith is an officiant who has taken this and grown it into more than a business. People in his area know who he is. They love him for what he does. He even does some crazy things we might get into in this episode. But Keith, I appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to see you back broadcasting.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I took a little hiatus, and now that I've got some other things going, I'm hoping that people will get a lot of value out of this. So speaking of value, I want to first of all give you the opportunity to tell people. We have a lot of people that email me and ask questions and who are just getting into this. So kind of fill us in on your beginning. How did you get into this?
So much of what I've done in my life has been entirely by accident, and even officiating weddings started that way. I'm of Scottish heritage. I happen to be a Santa Claus portrayer, and a number of years ago, somebody was looking to get married by a Scottish Santa in Branson, Missouri. They looked at me and said, "You kind of fit the bill." So I became ordained and did the wedding, and I absolutely loved it. It went off great, and that was really the start of how this thing began, with a sort of a theme type wedding.
That's so cool. So I feel like this is a lot of people's entrance story. I had a friend ask me, or I had somebody ask me because I was in this scenario. First of all, when I first saw you before we ever spoke, obviously that's the first thing I think of, Santa, when I see you. How have you had that image for a long time?
This is my 17th season portraying Santa.
Wow.
But I haven't always had the white hair and the beard. I started out with the cheesy wig and beard, and then went to human hair, and then eventually decided to grow my own, and now I keep it, but it's actually bleached. My hair is very dark brown, almost black, and so if you look at it, it's not dark turning white, it's white turning dark, because I haven't bleached in a while.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually would have never known that. I thought that was, when I first saw you, I was like, man, he's lucky. He's got that natural white. So that's cool. So you got into the officiate business. Now, when you got into this, were you wanting to make it a business, or were you just trying to fulfill that one wedding and maybe do a few?
I really thought it would just be that one, but I enjoyed it so much. I saw the joy that the couple got out of it, and really everybody involved. And I decided at that time, this would be a great side hustle. So I really started out just doing theme weddings. I mean, I didn't do, if you would, quote unquote, traditional weddings for quite some time. I did Santa Claus, I did a knight, pirate weddings. I'm known for doing pirate weddings. I've done Viking weddings, Western martial, all types of characters, and they're just so much fun. But at some point, I realized that more people are getting married in a more traditional way, and so now I do both.
That's cool. Now, we talked before we ever even planned to do this podcast, and I thought it was really interesting how when you got into this and you were telling me some things that you do. I was like, wow, I don't even do that. You, like, for instance, you have a kit, when you show up in case anybody's missing something. When this started transforming into a business, you're one of the few people that I've talked to that you said, I wanted to make sure I did this thing correctly. I did it right. I was fulfilling my obligations beyond what people thought I should. How important is that to you?
To me, it's extremely important. Anybody can get ordained, or here in Florida, if you're a notary, you can officiate weddings, and your only real competition is yourself. So I try to do as much as I can to to stand out. And I use those things like my emergency wedding day kit as a marketing tool. I find that wedding planners love the idea, venues love the idea, and more importantly, couples love the idea, so that somebody is prepared for pretty much any type of emergency. So I did my homework. I did a lot of research, and like you said, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right or not at all. So I just chose to be the best wedding officiant I can be, and so far it's paid off.
Okay, so Keith, you're a professional wedding officiant. You got into this, and you weren't meaning to have a full-time business, but it's grown into something pretty incredible and sustainable. And I think that's what people out there are looking for, to have a sustainable business that can actually grow, feed them and their families, and they can depend on. And there's a lot of people that are just now getting into this. So if you had some advice, what do you see as the biggest problem facing wedding officiants today?
There's two problems that I see. One is, and I was surprised when I learned this last year, that 51% of wedding ceremonies are officiated by a friend or family member.
Wow.
Now, I knew they did, a fair amount. I didn't know it was the majority. And I've heard and seen pretty much most of the horror stories, including the, "Oh, thank God it's you." And I said, "Why?" And it's like, "Well, we had a guy here last week, and it was his first wedding. He was a friend of the couple, and he was a nervous wreck, so he went to the bar."
Oh my
And,
gosh.
and it was a disaster. And I've seen two weddings online recently on social media where couples got married, and I knew both of them. One asked me to officiate their wedding. I wasn't available. And the other one, I'm just more or less an acquaintance and not close to them. But I did have to notify both of them saying, I would take that video down because you're not legally married. Neither officiant met the guidelines for someone to be legally married in the state of Florida. So you have all of those problems. And people, I think, just associate that with wedding officiants, whether it's a professional or it's a family member. And then the other side is we see a lot of people trying to get into this career, this business every single day. And about every single day, you'll read a post from somebody on social media saying, "Hey, I just got ordained today. My first wedding is Saturday. What do I need to know?" Or one I just saw the other day, "I really think I'm going to make a go of this. What should I do?" No one would open a business of any kind without doing their research, without doing their homework. You can't just wing it. And this is one of the most important days in a couple's life. If they have children, there's one, buying a house is another, but their wedding ceremony is a big day in their life. And as I tell couples, I want them to remember their wedding ceremony for all the right reasons. And you really, really have to do your homework and set this up like a business. Even if it's a side hustle, it's still a business. And that's where I think people trying to get into this are falling short.
Yeah, it is. It's a little shocking, and I see it too all the time. I actually have people that reach out to me, and they're like, "Hey, I've already got a wedding planned. I just became an officiant. I just decided I want to do this." And it's shocking that how did they how did they get this wedding? Another thing, and not to speak against anybody, but the couple out there, the poor couple, sometimes I think they have no idea what they're getting into. They don't know what they just invited into their wedding, inexperience.
And
And
that's the biggest problem, because you're talking a lot about couples who have never done this before,
mhm.
or if they've been married before, it was probably years and years ago, and they don't remember. So they don't know what they don't know. And you really have to take them by the hand and guide them every step of the way.
So what would your piece of advice be, going off of that awesome answer that you just gave, to people who want to get into this, but they want to do it right? They want to do it correctly.
One of the things that's really important is to find out what are the laws in your state, and then are there any specific things you know or need to know in your county. I know some states are different. The Carolinas, some counties accept online ordination, some don't.
Right.
And I really wouldn't go on social media, even in an officiant group, and ask some of these questions because I've seen answers that are flat out wrong. You really have to do the homework yourself. Call the state, call the county, go online, go to their website, read the state statutes, all of that stuff. Find out, what you need to know to set up a business. Do you have business cards? Do you have a website? Do you have a marketing plan? All of those things that you really need to do, because no one is just going to come walking through your neighborhood, knocking on your door and say, "Hey, are you a wedding officiant?" You have to be found, and you really have to know what you're talking about when this couple starts asking questions.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I love that answer. Research. It's amazing now in the online world how people take advice from other people they've never met. They don't know what experience they have. They don't know what education they have, and they're just, oh, okay, that's what I'll do. I mean, and on the opposite end of that, you can still go on the internet now and find every bit of real information from the source, like you said. And that's the best way to go. Go to the source, research, figure it out.
It takes just as much time to pick up the phone, to go to the website and read it with your own eyes or hear it with your own ears as it does to type that question in a Facebook group.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to cover that first because I want, from your experience level, to figure out what new officiants need to do. What do they need to figure out? How do they figure that out? Now that I want to get past that, because most of the people that come on this podcast are getting into the business and want to know, how do I get business? A lot of them, I've spoken to many who are notaries who have gotten into this doing it the right way. They've learned about it and they're ready to do weddings. They just don't know, how do I get customers? How do I find couples? So when it comes to marketing, you spoke of marketing. When it comes to marketing yourself and your business, what do you find works?
Well, I've gone to all the clerk of the court's offices in the areas that I primarily service. That's 6 counties. Sounds like a lot, but some of them are, 10 minutes away. Some of them are 30 minutes away. And some of them I found that you can put business cards up on their wall and a business card holder. Some have lists where they give out to every couple that comes in saying, here's a list of wedding officiants. Some don't do anything. But like someone once told me, unless you ask, the answer is always the same. No. So go out. I found that during the week was probably a good time that, if I'm not writing wedding scripts is when I should be knocking on doors. So that's when I went out to the clerk's offices. That's when I went out to venues that I had never officiated a wedding at, set up an appointment, said, I regularly get couples that say, do you know a good venue? And this is what I'm looking for. And I would tell them I'd love to come out and talk to you and get a tour of the facility and see if we can, recommend each other. And those meetings have proved very fruitful. The first 6 venues that I went to, I walked out the door on their preferred vendor list. And here's another area where officiants are coming up short. Some of these venue owners would say, yeah, I've had so-and-so call me and say, how do I get on your preferred vendor list? But they don't know them from Adam. They've never seen their work. And at least with me and what I did is I went out there and met with them face to face, gave them my brochure, gave them my business card, and talked to them a little bit about how I operated, gave them information on seeing all my 5-star reviews on Google. And again, 6 for 6 on the first 6 places I went to. And it's been consistent like that. Everybody's kind of trying to take the easy way out and being a little bit lazy. Go knock on the door, go visit them face to face and start that relationship. and every one of them is paid off. I've gotten dozens and dozens of weddings from these venues as a result of taking time to do that.
That's awesome that you just talked about that. I have a student and they know who they are. So when they hear this, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm glad you shared that. And last week they told me, and I've been helping them with their business for probably, I don't know, a year now. And for the last 6 months, I've said, have you gone in person, what you just said, gone in person with your business card or a piece of paper that you've printed your stuff out where they can find out more information about you, to venues and talked to the person in charge of setting up events? Well, no, I've called around, I've done that, and I said, do it. And I was telling them like every 3 weeks when we talked, go do it. Have you done it yet? No. Last week, the week before last, they went and did it to three of the venues near them. All of them, what you just said happened. They got on the preferred vendor list, and they've already booked 2 weddings just off of that visit to the venues. And they said, why didn't I do this sooner? I said, I don't know, but it pays off. What you just said pays off.
Yeah. And here's another thing about marketing. I was introduced some time ago to a wedding planner that I had not worked with. And one of the questions they asked me was, do you do same-sex weddings? And I said, yes. And they said, oh my God, you're the only male officiant that we've now found that will do same-sex weddings. And you're one of also very few male wedding officiants, period.
Wow.
Now, I know both of those are not true. I know other male wedding officiants in the areas that I cover, and I know other male wedding officiants that do same-sex weddings. But the difference is in the marketing, is in the making contact with, again, not just the venues, but the wedding planners and networking with photographers and everyone else. And at first I thought, well, they must be mistaken, or they haven't looked that hard. The next wedding planner, the next wedding planner, the next wedding planner, the next wedding planner, all told me the same thing.
Wow.
And I'm not going to correct them if that's what they believe. God bless them, because they've been booking me like there's no tomorrow.
Wow.
Or, traditional male, female, male, male, female, female, whatever it is, they've been booking me for their weddings.
That's amazing. The problem is that people they think that's something I'm going to do, but if you realized how many officiants in your area don't do this, they do not do it. They don't network like you said. It would blow your mind, because what you just said is happening to people that are doing it. They are getting the benefits. So that's amazing. That's amazing advice. So do you have? Oh, go ahead.
And I'm sorry. The other thing, with marketing is going back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, having that emergency wedding day kit. It is an unbelievable tool. When you officiate a wedding and something happens, when the best man's fooling around and drops the ring in the water, or drops it between a little space in a boardwalk and loses the ring, and you say, don't worry about it, I've got one. When something rips, a button comes off, and you say, I've got a sewing kit, or I've got mouthwash, or I've got whatever it is, you name it, I have it, including water, Gatorade, Powerade type drinks, because here in Florida it can get very hot. People can get dehydrated very easy. So that is something that I know that the officiants in my area are not doing. So I use it to my advantage as a marketing tool, as a selling point. So all of these little things that you can do will separate you from everyone else. Having an emergency backup, that was probably the first thing I did, was go network with other wedding officiants and find out who's on the same page as I am when it comes to officiating weddings. And now if I'm booked, I can say, listen, I'm sorry I'm booked, but call this person. And they do the same thing. Or if something happens and I'm on my way to a wedding and God forbid I get in a car accident, I can email them the script and give them all the information and get something to get someone to cover it. Likewise, the couple has a copy of the wedding script that they've approved. So in the event they have to get somebody, even if it's not an officiant, even if it's Uncle Bob who's not ordained, he can use the wedding script, and then I can come back later on and make it official and do a little private ceremony and then sign the license. But those are all things that wedding officiants should be doing to really provide good customer service, good personal service, and separate you from everyone else.
Yeah. Well, it's just doing things right. You know what I mean? It's just crossing your T's, dotting your I's. There's not a lot of people doing that. And I think one of the biggest problems is the first thing we talked about. There's a lot of people jumping into this thinking it's a side gig. And for some reason, when you label it a side gig, you think it's not a business. I don't have to treat it like one. So do you have any, if somebody started this, they're starting to get some momentum, starting to get some couples, having some success. I know you talked about a few things. Do you have any other advice for someone wanting to add to their business?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I use very effectively is I've developed a pretty extensive questionnaire. It's, I think, 4 pages, but I tell couples, don't let that scare you. A lot of them are just check boxes. Because again, you're going back to a couple that's probably never been married before and has no clue. So when you ask questions like, do you want a prayer? Do you want a blessing? Do you want a unity candle ceremony? Sand blending? How do you want me to dress? Are you writing your own vows? Are you exchanging rings? Even if they don't know the answer to it, it will be something they'll come back and say, hey, explain to me what the sand blending ceremony is, or hand fasting, or do we have to write our own vows? All of those things, because what it does is it then puts a valuable document in my hand that lets me prepare thoroughly for their wedding, from how they want me to dress to what type of ceremony they want. Do they want it serious? Serious? Do they want traditional? Do they want religious? Do they want humorous? Do they want outright funny? Theme wedding? All of those things. And then it also captures their love story and has each one describe the other, so that when I write a script for them, it is totally customized for their wedding. It captures them. It's not a cookie cutter script. So that type of questionnaire is something that really, really proves to be extremely valuable, because as an officiant, you never want to stand up in front of couple and say, God has brought us together today, and then have them look at you and say, we're devil worshipers, don't you? So you want to give them what they want. And that's pretty much a great way to do it. It's better than an interview. I know people do interviews as opposed to the questionnaire, but the interviews, you're putting them on the spot. I need an answer now. The questionnaire, they can kind of take their time and fill out and think about. So that's a really good tool that everybody should have in their toolbox. Personal service is key. I'm booking into 2024.
Wow.
That couple might sign the contract, pay the retainer fee, complete the questionnaire, send it back. I write the script, send it to them, and they approve it. And we're sitting here 2 years out from their wedding. But you can believe that I will contact them on a regular basis between now and their wedding. Hey, just checking in. How's everything? Anything I can help you with? Just a friendly reminder that you're there, and peace of mind for them. So, they love that hands-on personal service. And if you look at most companies today, anybody you deal with, customer service does not exist. Have it exist in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just blew a lot of people's minds when you said you were booked into 2024. So really quick, what do you consider a full-time? I mean, you're obviously getting calls all the time. You're getting booked. You're very in demand. What do you consider a full-time wedding officiant? How many bookings would you say that would be per week, per month?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think a lot is going to depend on the area
Mhm.
that you're in, because I mean, I know what the market I'm in will bear as far as price. I know some areas will charge twice as much as I'm charging, and some may charge half of what I'm charging. So I offer four packages. I can also do a custom package. So you really have to determine what it is you need to make a month or a year to live on, to be able to pay the bills, keeping in mind what happens if you have a slow month. So here in Florida, uh, June and July are typically awful. You know, it's very hot. Kids are out of school, families are on vacation. There's all kinds of things happening, and it's just a slow month. So you have to keep that in mind. You know, how are you going to pay the bills in June and July if it's slow? Well, hopefully for bookings that are 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year out, and really look at that. What will it take for me to take this from part time to full time, if that's what you're looking to do? And I found that when I did that, the more time that I put into my business, the more business I got. So there's a direct connection. If you have a lot of time to really put effort into growing your business, you can grow your business.
Yeah. So what you said is really important to, I don't want people to miss that. There should not be a time if this is a business where you're just sitting there waiting. We're just like, I'm waiting on people to call me. There's always things you can do to drum up business. And I think that's a big lesson here.
Yeah,
Um,
one of the things that I don't do Facebook ads, but I create ads. I use Canva or some other different products, and I make beautiful graphic ads. And I've joined, probably in my area, about 30 different Facebook groups. And when I
wow.
talk about Facebook groups, I'm not just talking about wedding Facebook groups, although those are some of them. But there's regional ones. There's ones for your city, and there may be several, or your county, or your general regional area. And I've developed a spreadsheet. I put all of the groups on there. I make any note of any special rules. Some of them will say you can only advertise on Fridays, or you're limited to 2 ads a month, or anything like that. So I put that on there. And then I put the date that I post an ad on there, and what ad that I put on there, so that I know that, okay, oh, I've just developed this new one. I can use that one. And I typically will do that at least once a month for free on all these different Facebook groups. There's also a lot of different directories where you can get a free listing. Search those out. You don't always have to pay the premium listing or the paid listing. For example, there was one that said you can get a free listing or you can get one for $99. Well, when I happen to search my city, there was nobody
Hmm.
on there. Why would I pay $99 when I'm going to be at the top of the list anyway? So, like you said, on those days, you shouldn't be sitting around. These are the things that you should be doing to grow your business. And it doesn't always cost money.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Keith, where would you say you get the majority of your business from?
Well, that's a good question. Probably the majority of my business comes from Google.
Hmm.
So I have a Google business page. Used to be called Google My Business, but now it's Google Business Page.
Yeah.
That gets me a lot of business, as do the wedding planners and the venues. But by far, my website and Google. If you don't have a Google Business Page, you should update it, and you'll keep ranking very high. And it really does get you a lot of business.
That's great. I'm glad you said that. Um, so I know that you mentioned Canva. That's one of the tools, and I noticed you have a really nice looking logo. In fact, in the background, people are going to be seeing this if they're watching it on YouTube. Your fancy corporate office there. So I love the logo. I know that a lot of thought went into that. So can you tell us how important that is? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a couple of things. So you can go on Fiverr, or you can contract with one graphic designer to create a logo. I see a lot of people do it themselves with clip art. I don't recommend it. I use a company called 48 Hours Logo. What I like about it is it's very affordable, but you get any number of designers because it becomes a contest. So you're not dealing with one, and you can describe anything you want, what you're looking for, colors. You can pick out some logos you see on their website, and say, I like this design. As you see them, you can say yay or nay. You can rank them 1 to 5, or not at all. You could say, I'd like to see it this way or that way. And at the end, you pick a couple of finalists, and you have them fine tune it, and then you select a winner, and you literally get a beautiful logo in every format, JPEG and PDF and AI, EPS, you name it. Within a couple of days, you get all of the files that you need. And every time I've used this company, I have had trouble selecting a winner because there are that many good designs. Now, with that said, I see a lot of wedding officiants that have a logo, but I would never recommend, nor would I use it. So, for example, somebody has a logo and it's got a piece of clip art. It's a traditional bride and a groom, or a diamond ring and a wedding band. And I'll say, do you do same-sex weddings? And they'll say, yes. And I said, well, if I was a same-sex couple looking to get married and I saw anything with your logo, I wouldn't even click on your link or explore any further, because it looks like you only do male, female weddings. So I wanted something that just was classy, elegant. I like the colors. The gold rings stay. Sometimes the black is white, depending on the background. And then the two rings sort of give it a little bit of a wedding feel. But stay away from the clip art. And if you're going to be an all-inclusive officiant, keep that in mind when you're doing your logo.
Yeah, I think what you said in the beginning is absolutely important. As you said, 48 hours logo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm
The
familiar with
number.
the site.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a great idea to, especially initially, if you have thoughts to hire someone to do it that's a professional, because their thought process is different than ours. If the creative people that are creating your logo, they might have some ideas that you never think of. And I think this is a great idea, especially since you've probably got 10 to 20 people competing, right?
Yeah. At least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not more.
Yeah. So that's a great idea. And then you've got the whole same sex. A lot of people, I've seen that too, and a lot of people have no clue. They don't think about it. They don't put that enough thought into their logo to even recognize this is going to be an issue. So that great idea. So let me ask you, Keith, before we end this, you have grown this into a pretty awesome business for yourself. You never intended to, but it just sounds like you're doing things the right way. You once you made the decision, this is going to be a business. I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to grow this. So what sets what sets your business apart from the competition where you're at?
Several things. I do think the customer service I provide, and the personal service. I mean, even after the ceremony's over, I will complete the marriage license. I will scan it. I will send the couple a copy of it, just in case of any issues with the court clerk. They have a copy. I'll thank them again, and I'll use that as an opportunity to post links to leave a review on Google, as well as my Facebook page. I also send out a handwritten thank you card. So, I just had so many couples thank me for really holding their hand and saying that I put their minds at ease, and they went into their wedding day, calm and relaxed, knowing that everything was handled, knowing that they've seen the script. I've seen wedding officiants say, I don't share my script I've written it. I don't share it with the couples. Well, why not? They've paid you. Again, I want them to see it in case something is wrong or in case they want to change something. I tell them I am not happy until you're happy. So share that information. Really, really provide good customer service, and it will make all the difference in the world. And then the other thing that I do, and I did a presentation before a chamber networking group recently on my business. And when I talked about theme weddings, the eyes that opened wide and the questions that came at the end were, oh my God, I didn't know that was a thing. If I had known that, I would have gotten married, like this or like that. I can tell you that I'm the only one in this area that I'm in that does theme weddings. I just booked my first gangster themed wedding.
So
I've never
cool.
and if you see the suit I have, and I charge extra for a themed wedding because I might need some sort of special outfit. And I've got a black zoot suit with white pinstripes and a red carnation and a black shirt and a white tie and a black and white fedora and black and white wingtip shoes. And I'm walking down the aisle carrying a violin case. And when I get there, I open it up and I'm going to say hello to my little friend in, the Al Pacino accent, and open it up and it's going to be my wedding script. And
I
I've
love it.
sprinkled in quotes from all the major gangster movies, in history. So theme weddings are so much fun. I own pirateweddings.com. I own vikingweddings.com. I own I think it's either Santa or Santa Claus weddings.com. So put that out there, promote it. There's, different pirate Facebook groups. There's Viking Facebook groups, and find a way to share your niche with the right audience instead of just doing the normal everyday wedding. Offer a lot more.
I love this. I, I'm a big proponent of using your own creativity and making, like you said, make it completely different than anybody else's. We're right here at the beach, and our business has become like the main beach wedding, small micro beach wedding uh, venue, I guess you'd call us. But we'll set up anywhere. We have an island that's about 20 miles long. We'll set up anywhere on that beach, and people love it because it's easy. Everything's taken care of. So I want to ask you this: if I was somebody that's getting ready to go into this, and I looked at you, I listened to this episode and said, Keith, I love what you have. I love how you've thought of all this. You've made it different. How do I take? What are the next few steps for me to take to get going in the right direction?
Well, like one of the things we talked about earlier is, do your homework, familiarize yourself with county laws, state laws, even if there's laws if you're starting a business. Or I see questions all the time, should I be a corporation? Should I be an LLC? Well, that shouldn't be a question you're asking on Facebook. It should be a question you're asking your accountant. Some states you can just be a DBA, doing business as. So do all the basics, but I'd also recommend finding a mentor in your area. Is there somebody willing to take you under their wing and help guide you and help you grow your business? I had that at one point in time. I've always been free of giving advice and answering questions in different groups for wedding officiants. So, see if there's somebody that's been there, done that, has the t-shirt and the road rash, that can help get you on the right path to being a successful wedding officiant. Not to do the work for you, but to help guide you and answer some questions where you can't find the answers on your own.
I love that. And the last question I have for you is, are there any tools or any software or any tricks of the trade that might save someone that's getting into this business some time down the road?
There are, I don't really use any of the Honeybook and some of the other things that some officiants use. I'm still a little bit old school, but I do use spreadsheets, just an Excel spreadsheet. So if you and your fiance book me for your wedding, I'm going to put your name. I'm going to put the date of your wedding. I'm going to put the total cost, the amount of the retainer when the retainer was paid, when the questionnaire was sent to you, when I received it, when the script was written, when the script was approved, when the balance was paid, and then did I do the follow up? And I
Wow.
check that on a regular basis because, oh, I sent so and so the questionnaire 2 months ago and I haven't received a response back. Let me just send them a polite reminder in case it went to spam or in case they just forgot about it. So I live on lists and all those things because if I don't write it down, it's it. Um, I'm not good with not writing it down. But be very detail oriented. I've got a form that I initially provide the couple, which is just called my general information form. It gives me each of their names, their address, their phone number, their email, the date of their wedding, the wedding venue, and the time of the wedding, which package they're choosing, and very important, how did you hear about me? And it literally takes 2 minutes to fill out, and I use that to draw a contract. And if you're not using a contract, you are making a huge mistake because I'm seeing stories all the time about people getting burned. Everything that needs to be in that contract should be in that contract. Everything should be covered. And I've met couples or have had couples call me and said, first question, do you use a contract? And I'll say yes. And they said, well, we called other officiants and they don't. And that was something they wanted for their protection as well. They want everything in writing. So they know there's no hidden fees and things like that. So um, it's all part of doing business. It's all part of looking like a legitimate business. And all of these things are forms I use or, I've done myself, whether it was a Word document and then I turned it into a form fillable PDF. They all have my contact information and my logo, all of that branding. I want them to keep seeing my name and logo out there. But it's critical that you really keep track of all of this stuff, or one day it's going to happen. You're going to find your phone ringing and somebody saying, "Hey, where are you? Our wedding was supposed to start 5 minutes ago." So I make sure I've got a field that says I put it on my calendar and I set a reminder and all of that stuff. I have a form that I bring with me to the wedding, which gives me, did they want witnesses to sign the marriage license? If so, who are the witnesses? Who's the contact at the venue? What is the cell phone number that each of the couple gave me that they could be reached at on their wedding day? So I don't have to take all the paperwork. I just take a very simple half a sheet of paper form, and everything I need is right there.
Man, you just dropped. That was a lot of stuff. I love it. I love it. You filled it up. I hope everyone that's listening to this is actually listening, and it's recorded. Go back and listen to it again if you're just starting your business. This has been incredibly valuable to a lot of people, Keith, and you've built something tremendous and unique down there. So I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing this with everybody.
Thanks, Chad. Listen, as long as I've been doing this, when you had your podcast on, I was a religious listener because I don't take the attitude of, oh, I can't learn anything. I've been doing this long enough. I know everything. You're always learning. There's always a better way to do something. There's always another way to do something. So, having you do these podcasts is incredibly valuable, and I'm so glad to see you back, and I'm honored to be a guest.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do. And Keith, before you go, how can people find your website to look at your logo to see some of the stuff you've been doing? How can they find you? And then what's like a contact email if someone wanted to reach out?
Sure. Well, the website is keithcarsonweddings.com. I love my website. I'm very proud of it. And then they can just email me at keith@keithcarsonweddings.com. There's also a contact form on the website as well. My phone number's there, so I welcome emails. Connect with me on Facebook as well. And I'll be happy to help any way I can.
Awesome. Thanks again, Keith, for being on, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Chad.